to KLFC TV. This is our end of season review for the 2024-25 season. I'm Dean Wigzell. I've got club photographer Micah Ricketts and club reporter Callum Humphrey with me. We're recording this a day after the club's relegation to Step 5 was confirmed. Callum, you were at the game yesterday watching AFC Dunstable versus Leicester Green.
Yeah.
Give us your views on the day.
Yeah, so I mean the game itself, Dunstable took the lead, but then they probably dominated the game, had most possession, but Leicester Green fought their way back. They took their chances really well, going forward, defending really resolutely. They ended up winning the game 3-1. That's sent Kings Langley down. But me, I was there alongside a fair few players and a fair few members of staff, and the vibe was really positive really throughout the whole game. Obviously, we'd have loved to stay up. But the feeling was that if we did go down, which obviously that's now been confirmed, we're happy to come together, really fight and work hard as a unit, to regroup, work hard and focus all of our energy on coming straight back up and winning the league next year. So that was the vibe really from behind the scenes.
Yeah, and I think straight away the management staff kind of sent messages out to the players, confirming that their intentions are to get to work straight away. And I know, having spoken to Steve over the last few weeks, his focus has very much been on exactly that. Come what may, this summer is a summer of hard work for everyone involved. And as disappointing as the relegation is, I think we can take a lot of positives from the attitude that everyone's kind of got within the club in terms of moving forward, Michael.
Yeah, the way that obviously not winning a lot of games was definitely hard on a lot of the players, and we do have a core. We do have a core set of players that have definitely driven us to playing a lot better within the last couple of weeks of the season. Obviously, there were some games that probably should have won. There were little changes, obviously new philosophy coming in towards the end of the season. It's difficult for us to be able to implement that so quickly, but obviously towards the end of the season you saw the changes in how everyone was playing. You saw how determined everyone was. It wasn't just oh, we've done this, we can now move on and score or do everything. Everything was a lot more harder. Everyone was working a lot harder as well. So it was a nice change to how things were going. But obviously, the season ended with us having it in someone else's hand, and instead of us being able to take control of what our destiny was, which unfortunately we are down to step 5 now, and we just got to fight next season. A lot of players are excited to see how things go, and it's sort of a different atmosphere.
Yeah, and I think for anyone that was at the Northwood game, it was such a surreal experience in the sense of we knew that we were playing and then we would have to sit back and wait and see what happened. But I think the win at Northwood, for me, kind of typified this new resolve and this new determination and the grit. I think that the management team have kind of built into the squad in such a short space of time. You could see the positives from it regardless of what was going to happen the following week.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that everyone at the club really has to kind of harness and take forward now, because it felt different. So hopefully, we can build on how we ended the season at Northwood and move on from there really.
I think we're probably quite hard done by with the way the bye week fell on the last week as well, because with the newfound momentum, I think we probably would have fancied ourselves to get a game on the last weekend of the season with it in our hands. We'd have fancied ourselves for a win. And also the fact that we weren't playing, it made Leicester Green's task really clear. They had to win no matter what.
Yeah.
So they could come in with a really clear, defined game plan, and that probably benefited them rather than us.
Yeah,
a stroke of fortune.
100%. And obviously the game prior to Northwood was very positive because it was against Burko, which we played fantastic. Took the lead 2-0 in the first half. Had a couple of chances in the second half. We just couldn't put it away. Which, if we had just won that game, the game against Northwood would have just been, okay, let's relax a bit, have a bit of fun, still want to win, but the pressure is sort of off quite a bit. And then obviously that 90-minute equaliser was just sort of a gut punch to everyone. But everyone's attitude wasn't we were terrible, we didn't do enough. It was positive. No one was down from when we would win games or we were in winning positions to end up drawing or losing earlier into the season. The atmosphere was a lot different.
Yeah, and I think that's again, like you said, the bye week. But I think, let's not get it twisted. A draw against Burko is a great result. To go to Northwood, who were the informed team in the league, and win away from home, great result. If there's no bye week, like you said, there's a possibility that we've got momentum going into that final week of the season. But in the grand scheme of things, it was just a little bit too late.
Yeah.
But again, it's a hard one, isn't it? Because you want to reflect on the fact that we've gone down and we're disappointed and everyone's devastated by that. But what we've seen over the last few weeks of the season, especially, can only be seen as a positive. So it's a really, really surreal, kind of weird position to be in. I think.
It is weird as well because there's that feeling that we were so close. Like our points tally this year, in many, many years gone by, have kept us up. And we had so many moments where the Burko game, for one, if we don't concede that late goal, then we're sitting having a completely different conversation. So it's fine margins.
And obviously, the nucleus that we have now, bearing in mind if not majority of them do stay or whatever happens, we do have sort of a bit of faith that obviously our manager Steve's connections and everything like that, he'll obviously get the right players in to help bolster the team, because he did get players that he got in were very experienced and definitely what we needed as well. And to be fair, what made the Northwood game even more exciting is that we had our vice captain, who was basically captain for half the rest of the second half of the season, scored an absolute a great goal. Then we had our new striker, Lucas Pedro, score a goal, and then we had Edu score the winner, like at the 90 plus 2 minutes, which was absolutely insane. But these were sort of things that we sort of needed in February, in January, because that was our last win in January, which is kind of crazy to say that we hadn't won a game since January 21st.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's only right to say as well, non-league football is a very close community, and Leverstock Green are 3 miles away, so we have a very close relationship to them. So congratulations to them on what has been a fantastic season for Levy, coming up from step 5 and surviving at step 4. Obviously it's a shame it's at our cost, but there's a lot of close connections between the 2 clubs, so it is worth saying congratulations to Levy. We'll hopefully see you again in a year or so's time.
And Northwood as well, because the runs the 2 teams have been on at the bottom. If you look back to sort of February time, we'd have thought probably, we're not going to get dragged into this, they're so far gone. But I mean, Northwood didn't win the game until October, and they've really gone on a run and become the team to inform, the league's informed team, and they've probably earned their place.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, I guess if you look at the season in kind of time order, we started quite well. We were in and around the playoff hunt for a while, and then, like we said, results kind of hit a dip. Couldn't really find any consistency that we needed. Got to February, a change in the dugout. Jordan Parks and his team, they departed. We welcomed back Steve Heath and Joe Sweeney and his team. And then it took a little while for their sort of philosophies to bed in, them to get some of the parts, the players that they wanted to carry out what they wanted to see on the pitch. And unfortunately, it's probably a little bit too late really, that ultimately their message got through. We finished really well, competitive at Bedford, a good draw against Berkhamsted, and obviously the win at Northwood in our last game. But wasn't quite enough for our season in the end, and I guess hopefully we've just got to move forward now. Now we've got a more consistent structure in place, and hope we can utilise that next season.
Right, so I suppose positive moments have been few and far between, but in this section I thought it'd be good to kind of reflect on our own individual moments of the season. I'll kick us off. So my main role at the club is community engagement, and we've seen some brilliant days actually, where we've engaged with different parts of the community. So we've had Her Game 2 Day, which is a day not only given over to our growing youth girls section, but also to female supporters. We had the first ever Ned's Day, which was our mascot's day for young supporters to come and engage in the club. Special shout out to Oliver, who's one of those supporters who has been incredible this season. And then I think the day that really summed up this club to me as a community club, part of the village, and the village is part of this club, was Abby's Day, which was of course a fundraiser for the daughter of our club DJ Bob Best. And we've also got Trev's Day coming up, which we'll come to towards the end of the show. So yes, for me that was just kind of the summary of how this club is part of the community. Michael, what about you?
For me, my moment of this season would be the Northwood game. Even though we've touched on it already, but that game, you saw a difference in how the players wanted to play, how determined they were to getting that win, to staying up. We got the first goal through our then vice captain Darnell Joe. Brilliant strike from outside the box. But then when Northwood scored their 2 goals within 2-3 minutes within each other, it sort of felt like, oh, here we go again throughout the whole. Here we go again. We were winning, and we're now going to capitulate, and we're not going to get that win. But then just seeing the changes that were made by Steve, bringing on a second striker, bringing on Henry Dudley to trying to change the way that we were playing, and then seeing the 2 goals scored by one goal scored by Lucas, and then the final minute winner by Edu. That was absolutely sort of the pinnacle of our season, which was definitely what we needed. And just seeing the determination that everyone had, that everyone wanted to get forward, get into the box, and everyone was also getting back behind the ball when it came to defending. No one wanted to leave the field feeling that they didn't do enough, and it was sort of a proud moment to see, because no one was upset. Even though we won, everyone was excited by the win, but everyone was also tired and shattered because they put their all into that game as well.
The support on that day as well was ridiculous. I mean, we were there and it was labelled as Northwood's Party Day, but it was King's Langley. It was the numbers and support and the collectiveness was unreal.
And it was fantastic to see, because you didn't see that throughout the year as much, but on that day everyone was loud, everyone was present, everyone was driving the team forward to get that win, which you could see it did also drive the players as well to play a lot better, to not start walking on the field when they weren't meant to. They all were sprinting back to defend. Darnell's brilliant block off the line when Northwood could have won the game 3-2. All those little things made that game so important and actually very, very excellent for us going forward as well.
Absolutely. And I think Steve Heath said that on the Ollie Bayless show on Three Counties Radio. You know, the input of the supporters on that day was what got them over the line.
It was kind of a moment of hope as well. In a season where there's not been that many flashpoints, that many moments of huge excitement. It was that moment where we all came together and we felt like, we might have achieved something major here. But unfortunately, it wasn't to be. But
Callum, you joined the club this year.
Yeah.
So you're a fairly new face around the grounds. What's your moment so far?
So I guess my moment's probably a bit of a wider one. It's just obviously my first time getting any kind of experience in a club of this sort of, I guess, in this way. Trying to get into the journalism, media kind of industry. There's been several moments, seeing my first pieces get uploaded onto the website, and then seeing how we've moved forward throughout the year. I did an interview with Steve Heath when he joined, so that was really cool. And it's just been continuing to work with the club, helping them as they're helping me. Like even doing this show today, doing the video previews, just seeing how I'm progressing with the help of the club, and hopefully helping the club back as well. That's been really the moment for me. It's made the season worthwhile.
Amazing. So following the Burko game, we saw James Towley receive the supporters / social media player of the year, which I think was very well deserved actually. He's been a great addition to the team since he came in. But who would have your pick for player of the season been this year, Micah?
My pick for player of the season would be the guy that was consistent I don't believe he missed a game this year. He wasn't meant to be captain for the second half of the season, but he was the vice captain. He was very vocal. My vote actually goes to Darnell Joe. An enforcer in that midfield. Once he got onto that ball, he was able to distribute. He was definitely the voice of reason amongst all the youngsters in the squad. Is a very young squad as well, and for Darnell to take that leadership position was definitely something that you need, and you could see the experience that Darnell was gaining from game by game. You could see that he was trying to play in a different way. He wasn't getting overly too excited when we did score our first goal. He was trying to keep everyone's head balanced, not let everyone sort of run away with it. And he was probably our Mr. Consistency throughout the season. So mine would be Donna.
Yeah, so I went for another midfield enforcer, if you like. Although he has played in, I think, pretty much every position on the pitch so far this year. I went for Henry Burt. I think still a very, very young head in the squad. I think sort of the energy he's shown throughout the season, you see him busting a gut up and down the field, time after time, bellowing at his teammates, trying to get everyone going. And like I said, his flexibility and his versatility, he played up front in one of Steve's first games. He dropped back into the back line at times, and obviously primarily as a box-to-box midfielder. I think he's had a great year. I think probably the moment that encapsulated that was that he came off at half-time in the Berkeley game, I think, and he had a blister on the size on his foot, like huge. The fact that he played the first half, regardless, running up and down on a hot day, giving his everything, I think that was a big moment for me. So that's my player of the season, Henry Burt.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think for me, at the time it came to voting, I was definitely torn between Darnell and Towley, but Darnell just edged it for me. I think 46 games this season, I think it was, that he finished on. You can't argue with that. I think there was only one or two that was off the bench, but yeah, you can't argue with the level of consistency and the growth that he showed over the course of the season. So Darnell Luke was mine as well.
I think we should say Towley, very worthy winner as well.
Absolutely.
On the right flank, he's pushed further forward at times. The engine he's got up and down and up and down, and I guess another calm, steady head within the squad.
Yeah, crazy levels of experience as well. And I think as times progressed, and I think some of the things that we've touched upon earlier, but I think as times progressed, you've really seen Towley settle into one of those kind of leadership roles and looking to take responsibility for driving things forward and improving things. He's quite a quiet guy. Kind of leads through action most of the time. And I think that's been certainly noticeable.
It's the captain Darman as well. The games towards the end.
Especially that Northwood game, he was definitely trying to get that ball. He was getting that ball upfield, and he was in positions that he was getting chances to shoot. He could have scored against Northwood as well.
Dead on his feet by then, I have to say.
So
there was a moment where he was in the opposition's box. There was a set piece. One of the supporters said something to him, and you could just see Towley just kind of look, and it was one of those like slightly glazed over, I'm done, but I'm not stopping kind of acknowledgements of we're still going. I think that moment for me summed up his season. Like, he was there until the very last minute, just giving everything. Absolutely worthy winner. Definitely deserves the credit.
I will give a memorable mention as well to Bradley Smith. Without his 14 goals, who knows where we would have been this year. Yes, he was on loan with us, and he was very impactful. He obviously did leave because he had to. He wasn't in his choice, but when he came back, he did help, and we were sort of hoping that things would push on as well from that moment. But 14 goals, who knew where we would have been without those goals that he scored earlier in the season? So that would be my memorable mention, player of the season as well.
I guess it's tough as well when there's so much turnover in the squad. We've had players coming out, and maybe we've had impacts on short-term loans. You think Jonathan Lawson from Watford, Bentley as well. I guess maybe if they had a full run at it, it'd be
Different.
Yeah, I think
even more players.
that's a really good point, because I know when we sat down to set the criteria for who could be listed to be voted for player of the season, and kind of the baseline was you had to have made more than 10 appearances for the club.
Yeah.
And I think we probably wound up on about 9 or 10 players that made that list.
Yeah.
So that to me just summed up that lack of
Yeah.
game time that we've had from a consistent group of players. So yeah, definitely. So I guess it's now time to start looking forward. As we've touched upon already, the management team within about 45 minutes of the Leicester Green game finishing, we're already looking forward. So it's time for us as a club now to start looking forward and looking at the positives. 2025-26, which sounds bonkers just saying that in itself. Micah, hopes for the season?
Hopes for next season is that we obviously get promoted back to step 4 as champions, and we do have a consistent of at least 7 to 8 players that will be here from the beginning of the year all the way up to the final day, that it doesn't break anything that we have built. And that we do have a bigger media presence as well. That is definitely something that I would like to see, and that people are able to get opportunities from working here. Yeah.
Callum?
Yeah, with relegation, there's always that kind of backward positive where the likelihood is next year we're going to win more games than we've won this year, and that's always a good thing. Might even see a bit of silverware, hopefully. But that should bring a lighter feel to the club. And I guess what I really want to see from next year is I want to see that togetherness and that unity that we've kind of seen build within the squad in the last few weeks. I want to see that carried on. I want to see that go into next year, so that really feels like the club's together and get behind them as one. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, the obvious one is promotion, come what may. Definitely would like to see that nucleus of the team kind of stick around. And then I'm hoping it's going to happen in a King's Onion shirt, but I'm just really desperate to see Isaac Pedro back on the football pitch. We've missed him this season massively. So I'm hoping that Isaac can get himself fit and stick around, because that would be a massive plus for everyone involved. No pressure on Isaac if he is watching. But yeah, I think both of what you've already said, a season of togetherness, a season of this club now moving forward as one. Supporters, players, staff, committee, volunteers, everybody. And yeah, hopefully a positive 2025-2026 is incoming.
Yes.
For Kings Onion Football. So before we completely wrap up, I just wanted to kind of mention that on the 17th of May here at the Orbital Fasteners Stadium, we have got Trev's Day, which is a special day to bring everyone together to commemorate the first anniversary of our groundsman Trevor Dealer's passing. Trevor passed away last year, and it was quite possibly the worst start to a football season that anyone could experience. Trevor's absence is still massively felt here at the football club and will continue to be felt for a very long time. So for anyone, no matter how well you knew Trevor, please come down on the 17th of May. A few of us are lacing up our boots and taking part in a game, and yeah, it'll be a good day. Again, bringing everyone together at this club, and hopefully a nice way to round off this season, but also we'll start looking forward to the summer as a big collective in honour of Trev. So yeah, hopefully see you then, and if not, we will see you in the summer. There's lots going on. We've got our New Beginnings YouTube documentary that we'll be launching fairly soon, and lots of other exciting things going on at the club. So we'll see you in the summer.